Hello everyone, welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 43, recording on Friday, January 8th, and my name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name's Andrew.
And a bit of a slow week in the gaming world. We'll be taking a bunch of your junk mails and giving you amazing answers. And talking a bit about what we've been playing. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Not too bad, Frank. Thanks for asking.
This guy's living on cloud nine. Look at him, he's glowing. I don't know what's going on over there, but he's pretty happy.
I don't know if Cloud9's the right description. It's been a busy week, obviously, with kids home for schooling this week. But thankfully, I didn't have to deal with it.
Welcome to my life. Welcome to my life for the whole year.
Yep. It's interesting.
I've done absolutely nothing this week, and I will continue doing that for the entire weekend. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into the junk mail. We got a bunch to go over. Huck, turn it to you. You are our junk mail wrangler. You
and maybe
organize
just
it all. You make cuts, the hard cuts.
The hard cuts. I'm sorry for anyone that got their email cut.
There have been some cuts, but I just wanted to say, gamejunkpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us email, even if we're not actively asking for it, and we'll save it up and maybe get to it on an episode like this.
Sean taking over hosting duties. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
And Andrew, now it's your turn.
All right. So this one's from Jeremy. He says, "Howdy, Junkers. What the hell is going on with Sony losing their grip on the indie market? Seriously, every new indie that catches my attention is nowhere to be seen on PlayStation. It seemed at PS4's launch, it touted itself as the new home of the indies on console, and that remained sort of true for most of the generation. Now, if I want to play great indie games, my only options are Switch or Xbox. Timed exclusives I can accept, but the uncertainty keeps me up at night. From a consumer standpoint, it just seems like there was a paradigm shift in brand loyalty, or maybe some backdoor deals made by Nintendo and Microsoft to try to keep these new indies off of the PlayStation Store. However, as indie devs, can you confirm that there's more to it? Has Sony made it harder to port their games? Is it just easier on Switch and Xbox? Or are there tons of steps of approval that aren't worth the headache? PlayStation has the largest player base on console, so from a business standpoint, it seems that it is definitely worth it, but maybe there's something I don't know. From a concerned indie gamer."
Well, actually, that's an interesting point at the end there. Is the PS4 user base bigger than the Switch user base? I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked at numbers.
I don't know if it's true either, but there's also active user base as well. There might be a higher user base for the PS4, but that console is pretty old at this point, and who knows how many are still playing on that, where there's a very active user base for the Switch. I don't think it's anything nefarious here. I mean, the Xbox thing is interesting with the Game Pass, but I feel like it's just a money thing, as always. There's a lot more coverage and potential sales available to developers on the Switch, who typically launch on the Switch and on Steam. I think just because there's an opportunity to make more money. And maybe there's an aspect where I would say it's probably the hardest to develop a game on the Switch. It's the most limiting processing-wise, and from what I remember with launching a Unity game, it did require some extra management and asset manipulation that other consoles do not. So it might be a case of developing for the hardest console first and then porting to other ones is easier. And I wouldn't be surprised, because there are no trophy and achievement systems on Switch, that you may also get double dips and double buys, which I do, with games that I buy on other things, and then they come to platforms with achievements or trophies, and I rebuy them again. So I think it's just this perception of Nintendo being indie darlings is only for financial reasons. It's completely, there's no reality to it other than people are playing that console the most for reasons I'll never understand. And the only interesting wrinkle here is Xbox, that maybe they are paying to get a lot of indie games, and I wouldn't even say they're getting the biggest indie games by any means. Like, they're kind of getting interesting indie games, which I love about Game Pass, but I don't think they're getting the best ones. Like, the best ones critically and popularity wise are still launching on Switch and Steam almost exclusively to start.
So I just double checked. I'm surprised the numbers are actually like the PS4 is still way beyond the Switch. I thought it was a lot closer at this point, but 113.5 million for PS4, Switch 75 million. That's according to Wikipedia on their list of best-selling game consoles, so I assume it's mostly up to date.
I think so. That is interesting, but also that user base is a double-edged sword because when you have a user base that large, then a lot of people are going to want to put their game on that platform. You saw it with the Switch right at the beginning. There was a huge flood of people into the Switch market, and you saw all these indies rushing to get into that market to take advantage of all those consumers that were like really desperate for games. And now that market is really cooling off. And also what happens is with a new marketplace, there's not as many titles. So you get primo marketing positioning. So you are in a good position and you will make a lot of money. So you can essentially make a decent indie game and still get pretty good coverage in a new store that doesn't have that much content on it. But now the Switch, the PlayStation Store, they're really saturated with content. So unless you are one of those like premier indie titles, the odds of you succeeding or getting noticed on PlayStation is a lot lower. Same with on Switch. So I think a lot of those teams that may not think they have like a really big hit on their hands, like a Stardew Valley or a Hades, I think, and Hades, they signed that deal with Epic well before. So they were even hedging their bets there. And so unless you think you're going to have it, like Frank was saying with the Game Pass, you get a lot of coverage on Game Pass. And if you notice, there seems to be this trend where if a game comes out on Game Pass, it does seem to get a bump on other platforms.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. It's weird because I know Oxenfree, I think we've talked about this before, they did a thing where the Game Pass, being included on Game Pass gave them bumps on sales. Mm-hmm. And lately, a lot of the games on Game Pass are only on Game Pass. So I don't know the details of like how much a company makes per download on Game Pass or anything like that, but it is a little strange to me. I'm sure it makes sense, but that they aren't available on other consoles while they're on Game Pass because you kind of want this transference bump of sales going on as well. And I would think the rate of or like the quarterly or new consoles being purchased is probably high for the Switch and is like severely dwindled on the other consoles. So like you said, new users are a huge factor as well on those systems.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to mention, I mean, Sony is still getting some exclusive indies. I think Spelunky 2 was PS4 exclusive this past year. The Pedestrian, which I've been looking forward to, coming initially just to PS4. It was already on Steam. There have been a few. I feel like some of them are just people who had past relationships with Sony that have maintained them. But it is an interesting question of why the Switch has become this indie console. And I know Frank's got his theories, and I don't know if you just think it's just got this reputation now. But I mean, I think there are some other things.
Just because people who play indies or are more likely to play indies are Nintendo fans. I would say like casual gamers or like your average gamer that, you know, are friends and family, they're way more likely to buy major consoles and not play indies. I would say this is a generalization, but fans of Nintendo probably are into design and video game websites and indies and awards and all that stuff, and generally more hardcore gamers, quote unquote. But I think they're more likely to play indies, and that's why people who like Nintendo probably cover indies more, and it's just like kind of self-manifested. And there's another wrinkle to that too. Indies are primarily digital download games, and I think the the Switch suits itself much more for digital downloads and indies than other consoles just because of its portable nature. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea, but I think it is a thing where people with major consoles, I'd be surprised what the numbers are for digital versus physical sales, and I bet it's 50-50, and I bet it skews digital on the Switch a lot more.
Well, I mean, it costs more to manufacture the cartridges and stuff like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a factor, but I think the portable thing is also a factor. Like, I think it's, because those games feel like, a lot of the indie games feel like the quick pick up and play kind of game. They feel like the kind of thing you're more likely to play on the go than sit down at your console and spend like 5 hours playing. But I don't know. It is weird. I think, between Game Pass and that sudden turn of the Switch, and I think also like maybe you can chime in on this, Huck, but I feel like the Switch has gotten easier to develop for. Like, Nintendo used to have a real bad reputation for not working well with indie developers and making it difficult, but I think it's easier now. Is that right?
You mean compared to like previous generations?
Yeah, and compared to, I guess, like that they're kind of pulling even now in terms of that kind of stuff with Sony and Microsoft.
I wouldn't say pulling even, only because they don't really have a great online multiplayer and they don't really have achievements. So they are missing like some features and like voice chat and all that stuff. They are missing stuff that the other platforms provide for you. But as far as like developing for the Switch compared to like Wii U, Wii, 3DS, much easier on the Switch.
Right.
And I think some of that is driven by like the rise of Unity and the Unreal Engine. Although I don't know if the Unreal Engine really runs on Switch that well, but it must, right? But it basically is making them have to kind of keep up, and then it lets people, take advantage of other people's work. And it's kind of nice to have an engine that so many people use, that you don't have to have just an engine team now in your studio that handles that. It's basically like Unity handles it for you, and then you just kind of have to adjust it, which is nice.
Now, I did see one other little thing. So Sony had this pub fund thing for years that they used to give money to indie developers to help fund their projects. And I just saw this past year they launched some kind of $10 million fund. I don't know if it's part of that, but I think it was more like for COVID. So it was, indie developers who were struggling because of that. They're giving some money to them. So I don't know if that has anything to do with, them kind of trying to put more focus back on indie developers. But I don't know. I'm curious if the pub fund thing has changed at all, or if it's the same as it's always been. It's just the others have caught up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Drinkbox was able to take advantage of the first pub fund, but that was like 10 years ago, and I did think they had stopped that for quite a while. So I'm not sure about this one. Just one other thing, if people are interested in more of this like number breakdown of what's selling where and what titles are doing well sales-wise, there's a company out of Vancouver called Brace Yourself Games. They make Crypt of the Necrodancer and the other version that just spun off with
Cadence of Hyrule.
And they also have a new game that I just think entered early access called Industry of Titan, I think, or Industries of Titan. And it's sort of like a base builder game. But they do a stream, I think it's like every 2 weeks or something, on their Twitch channel. It also goes up on their YouTube channel called the Clark Tank. And the reason it's called that is the guy who runs the studio, his name's Ryan Clark. And he basically does this like 3-hour breakdown of all the indie sales and like trends in the industry that are kind of going on for that week or that 2 weeks or that month or whatever he does it. So if any people are interested, that's a good resource to kind of get more information on this kind of stuff. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Not really. No. I agree that I don't like that it's becoming exclusive for indies. It's kind of strange to me that that's happening. But I hope it's a trend that changes.
So riffing off of this into storefronts, we have a question here from Colin. His question is about game icon art that represents the titles in your digital library. He was scrolling through his PS4 library today, and much to his surprise, titles that he bought at release are now being branded as greatest hits in his library. Does this bother anyone else? And then he says, I'm assuming it would bother the collector and Frank, but perhaps he's accepted this as a minor inconvenience for the large convenience of digital ownership.
Well, I'll
Frank.
accept it, but it does really bother me a lot. I'm glad someone sent this in because I've been meaning to bring it up, and I hate that that's a thing. The digital artwork is so gross when they just switch it with stuff, and I hate that I have no control over it whatsoever. Like, at least give me the option to pick a few different things, or the legacy stuff. I really don't like that at all.
Maybe some custom digital art, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I think Apple Music allows you to do that. They at least let me override names for tracks and get rid of remastered bullshit and featuring stuff that I do, and that's why I love Apple Music. So I'm not going to expect that feature anytime soon from any platform in video games, but it would be something I would like. But it did remind me with the Nintendo indie thing. It really bothers me because the Nintendo eShop is the worst shop by far. Sony has gotten definitely much worse in the PS5 era. Their new store sucks. The Xbox has stayed about the same. I'd say all of the video game stores are in a terrible state right now. I absolutely hate them all. And
Well, hang on. I would say Steam is pretty good.
okay, Steam, whatever. Fuck Steam. Actually, I like the Epic Store, to be honest. I've been in there a bit lately, and I kind of like the look of that, and I love the look of their digital library. And so I'm actually kind of impressed by what they're doing. But I hate the eShop. Like, first of all, give me a way to search for Nintendo-only games, because it's all I care about on your stupid system anyway. And, like, it's just flooded with garbage. Absolute trash. And I hate it. And it's so slow. I have to sign in every time I go into it. It sucks. You suck. Fuck you, Nintendo. Please, enough with the love for Nintendo. It's getting disgusting. Their shop sucks. They need a big overhaul. And the fact that no one calls them out on how annoying it is to do anything on that system, including playing online games like Animal Crossing, which you guys can get to later.
I think we'll get to it next.
It's brutal. But I hate the digital artwork thing. Especially sometimes they do, like, what game did seasonal artwork and stuff like that, and they're changing it with seasons, like what for all these games.
Probably Fortnite.
Yeah, they all do it. It's so disgusting.
Yeah, I was going to mention, like, in that I'm sure you don't care, Frank, but with mobile games, like, whenever you get an update on iOS, sometimes they update the icon too, and sometimes you can't find it because you're looking for the old one, and it's just kind of annoying. But
yep, it is. I do not like that trend. Let's get to the next one.
Okay, let's change up our trends and let's go to the Nintendo Switch. Hot Black Desiato writes from our Discord, Sean, do you have multiple Switches in the house, or are the kids able to share one? For games like Animal Crossing, it seems required that each person has their own device to fully enjoy it.
yeah, I only have one Switch currently. It's been okay because I don't know, they're kind of out of the Switch phase right now, so they seem to play like
They're
if
growing up. I like this. This is good. Well
if
done.
they do play a game together, usually it'll be something like Roblox, and one can use like a laptop and one uses an iPad or something like that, but rarely are they fighting over the Switch, so it's not really an issue for me. But I might be interested in the that new handheld only Switch at some point. I could see myself picking one of those up.
I played Animal Crossing, but also didn't really run into this issue. My kids are younger than Dwy's, but we basically limit their game time. They're very sheltered. They live a sheltered life when it comes to video games. So we basically are strict. We give them each like 10 or 15 minutes each, and they're fine with that. They each have their own time, but I can understand if you wanted them to sort of like be off playing video games so you can have some quiet time. And and they both want to play Animal Crossing, it can cause a problem, or they're messing with each other's worlds. It could definitely cause a problem.
Well, I'll get
Uh,
into the online thing. Even if you had two systems, I've played Animal Crossing online once with some fellow junkers, and it was terrible. Like how you get to other people's islands. I put my console down and locked the screen by accident, and it disconnected me completely. I lost everything I gathered during while I was going to that island. This is a game for kids on a console for children primarily, and it is so bad at handling online behavior. If I was a kid and that happened, I would be losing my shit. And I'm like, I wouldn't even understand why. What did I do wrong? Like, it is so unintuitive how it handles online stuff. And for Nintendo, seems like the strangest thing ever. So it's absolutely gross how they handle online stuff. And Animal Crossing Online is brutal. The fact that that was nominated for Online Game of the Year at the Game Awards is an absolute travesty. And I saw that nomination and I almost barfed all over my desk. It's ridiculous.
Now, question though, Frank, I haven't played the online version, or I haven't tried it online myself personally. We've tried the local multiplayer, which is also terrible. Is it the same? Is it the same in the sense that like one person is the leader and everyone else kind of can't do a lot of stuff, or is everyone at least able to do their own thing?
You can kind of do stuff on the other person's island, which I've seen. Obviously, you have to communicate through your phone or through a computer app or Zoom, which, Nintendo, greatest company ever. What a game company. Sorry, I do love Nintendo.
Why reinvent the wheel, right, Frank?
I can't take the universal praise. Even Animal Crossing, an amazing game by all means. Why is it every other game when it gets reviewed, it's like, well, we were going to put in our review, but we have to wait to review the online portion, and we have to review the online and campaign separately and all this stuff. Where is the online review of Animal Crossing saying it's a 4 out of 10 and almost unplayable? Like, why aren't they getting the same treatment as every other multiplayer game? Anyway, I just hate the double standard for Nintendo. It drives me crazy. You can't tell because I talk about it every week. It's sick.
I see your point on that, but I guess, to me, Animal Crossing is not like a full online game.
It was nominated for Online Game of the Year.
Okay, yeah, I agree. That's stupid. But it's like, okay, you have the ability to visit somebody else's island or whatever, but it's not like intended, I don't think, to be like a full
Isn't that the same argument for any game that has a single player campaign with multiplayer aspects? Like, you don't have to play the multiplayer stuff. It's just there. It's intended to be a single player game.
I don't know, like something like Destiny, like that needs like a online multiplayer review.
Anything. I would say Animal Crossing is built upon the idea of going to other people's islands and doing multiplayer stuff. That's what it was built on almost entirely. There was a peripheral for the Wii where it was like a speaking microphone so that you could play that game online. If any game is dependent on online technology, it's Animal Crossing. Or it's implied that it's part of the experience.
It feels like it's more of like a sharing thing as opposed to like a playing together thing. But I am not as much into Animal Crossing as you are even, so.
Anyway, it's a problem. I can't believe I'm the only one talking about this.
Well, you just gotta look.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have any more Nintendo Switch questions to keep Frank at peak Frank, but we'll go back into
relax. Out a bit. I came out shot out of a cannon. You didn't even hear me pre-show. I was fucking losing it.
So let's go to a question from Lucas from 6 months ago. Proof that we do actually answer questions, and we'll go back to them. Long-time listener, first-time caller, I wanted to thank you for this podcast, which a few years back renewed my joy for gaming. I'm still a very casual gamer, but I like keeping up with the news and have been enjoying the shows. And have been enjoying the new prototype. With more time at home lately, I've platinumed my first game, which was Death Stranding. I'm proud of that achievement, but it was a brutal endeavor and took me 195 hours. Frank, do you have do any of your platinum achievements stand out as being particularly painful?
Well, we can bridge this into the next question. Painful isn't the right word. I was leaning more towards ones I'm proud of. There are certainly achievements and trophies, especially in my young achievement whoring days on Xbox 360, where they were painful. Trust me, there was many painful thousands that I partook in. But the ones I'm proudest of, no surprise, are Sekiro, which was extremely difficult and a true platinum, even though I cheesed the Demon of Hatred and I still can't sleep at night knowing that. But also Nioh, the original Nioh, platinuming that was a very proud moment. And those are probably, and they're both like Japanese fantasy games, so it's weird that those are my kind of my two favorite games, I think.
You know, I can't help but think how amazing it is with the DualSense 5, or is it just DualSense? The DualSense with the mics built in. You know how they've been saying that, you know, when you get a trophy and it records a bit of the audio, are we going to get the
Is it
audio,
really?
Frank, getting a platinum one of these days?
I gotta double check my audio. Who knows what I'm doing when I'm
Oh, yeah,
getting
that's pretty funny. I've got some good ones where Kieran was playing and he's like going nuts over stuff. So you should check it out.
And then, yeah, he did ask, is there any that were a joy to platinum as well? I guess that kind of answered
I think
that, maybe.
Horizon Zero Dawn is a very fun platinum.
A painful one I could think of that I never platinumed was Assassin's Creed. I believe it was the first one or the second one. There's just so many collectibles, and I don't think they had really mastered the art of putting stuff on your map to find, if I recall correctly. And one of them was just ridiculously hard. I can't remember which one. Sure, but I didn't do it.
There are a few other ones. Infamous. Second Son was a great platinum. I feel like there's a couple other ones on PlayStation 4. I think Last of Us 2 is a pretty fun platinum. That's all the ones that are coming to mind right now.
Would you guys say that it has gotten easier to platinum a game over the years? Like, have they made it more of a systematic thing that you can at least kind of work your way through it, or is it
really
still game by
varies by
game?
developer. It totally depends.
Yeah.
I like that there's less missable trophies now. Like missable trophies used to be a thing, or multiple playthroughs, but they still happen. You got to check that trophy guide. You're gonna or achievement guide, depending on what console you're on. You're gonna start a new game. You don't even care a little bit about them. Just do a little due diligence. You will not regret it. Oh, both Spider-Man games are pretty fun platinums as well.
True, yeah. Let's shift.
Ratchet Clank remake on PlayStation 4 was a fun platinum.
Let's jump off the Ninja games you're talking about there. Let's see here. Gaffney in Buffalo writes, "Hey fellas, with Ghost of Tsushima recently released, I've been thinking of jumping back into the ninja samurai swordplay genre. It's been a long time for me though. My favorite genre is still the Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 from the Xbox and Xbox 360. Which of this generation games play the most like those classics, and which is the best overall?" And then he lists a few examples here: Nioh, Nioh 2, Nier Automata, Devil May Cry 5, Sekiro, Ghost of Tsushima.
I mean, the obvious answer would be Nioh and potentially Nioh 2 because they are made by Team Ninja, the same development team that made the Ninja Gaiden games. So that's what kind of got me into these types of games or Souls-like games because they were more offensively focused. So I think Nioh would be a good place to start, but I probably won't talk about this anymore in what we played because it's what I've been playing all week. I finally got into Nioh 2. So, I mean, it is kind of a roguelite, like Souls games, roguelites. They're kind of similar. And I'm like, we're doing our end of year list, and I did not play the sequel to one of my favorite games ever, which I had my reasons. It's because I was playing Sekiro, and they're very similar, but also very different. And to go from one to the other, like the button schemes are different, and it was too much of the same thing in a row. So I took a break, but I am enjoying Nioh 2 a lot. I don't know how I feel about every new system in it. There's this burst counter, which feels like a response to the Mikiri counter in Sekiro. Now, this is, if you haven't played Sekiro, you won't know what I'm talking about. The Mikiri counter in Sekiro might be the best game mechanic of the past 10 years. It is like if someone uses a spear at you, you step on the spear, and it's like this counter. It's perfectly timed. You know exactly when you need to do it based on the prompts on the screen. It is the most satisfying, coolest looking, one of the most rewarding mechanics in video game history. So I will go out of my way to always talk about how effing cool the Mikiri counter is in Sekiro. So I gotta say, playing Nioh 2, I like Sekiro better. I do not like some of the platforming aspects of Sekiro, but overall, it doesn't have inventory management, which I hate. I'm not that crazy about the different weapon types in Nioh. I find I'm using swords most of the time, but as I continue playing, I'll use the other ones. But I feel like Sekiro is the best out of those games, as much as it pains me to say, because Nioh got me into it. Sekiro and Nioh, you really can't go wrong. But if you are a Team Ninja fan, I might try Nioh first. And I don't know what consoles you have. They are releasing a Nioh remastered bundle with 1 and 2 on PlayStation 5, I think February 21st. I'm not 100% sure on that. But, you know, maybe I'm going to get some Auto Pop trophies coming to me a few weeks from now. I don't know. But I'm going to be focused on Nioh 2 for the next little bit, for sure.
Just to riff on that, I thought a good ninja game, not like the original Ninja Gaidens he was talking about or the 3D ones. The Messenger is a great ninja game
Great call.
to step into, which is very like the original Ninja Gaiden on the NES. So I think if you're looking for something 2D, The Messenger is a great choice.
And I don't think it was mentioned, but I haven't played it that much, but Platinum Games are also a company you might want to, a developer whose games you might want to look into, who I believe did Nier Automata, right? Automata?
No, actually. I think so. I think you're right.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I should know that. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yes, they did. Okay, thank God.
Yeah, and like Vanquish. Vanquish is one of the classics.
If you like the ninja slicing stuff, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, also done by Platinum, seems like it might be up your alley as well.
Yes. Let's see here. Where should we go next? Well, I guess we'll stick on kind of Souls-like games. So Jonas from Finland writes, "Hey guys, now that Demon's Souls is out and critically well received, which older game would you like to see remastered or remade from the ground up for the new consoles? Also, what do you guys think is next for Naughty Dog?"
I mean, my answers are not that inspiring for remade, but my number one game that I want to see remade is Viva Pinata, and it's not even close. I think with current technology, it could look absolutely amazing. I want to replay it. There was a sequel that I didn't get that into, but I would love to return to Viva Pinata in some way. And another rare game, Banjo-Kazooie, the original Banjo-Kazooie, possibly the sequel. They've tried to do weird variations on it, like Nuts and Bolts. There's been spiritual successors, like Ukulele, which was not good in my opinion. I would like to see Banjo-Kazooie get remade. And what's my other one? I know I say it all the time, but I want Skyward Sword without motion controls. That
would be cool.
I don't think that would save that game, though.
I don't know.
Personally.
So one that came to mind recently, and I don't, maybe I said this because I feel like we have had this question like a long time ago, but because of playing Cyberpunk recently, I was thinking of the Deus Ex games, and it does seem a bit surprising that the original Deus Ex has not been like, I think there was some kind of slight remastered version like 2 generations ago or something. I don't totally remember. I have it on Steam. I don't think it's some kind of enhanced version, I think, but to like fully remaster that game and like remake it, I think would be huge. I think people would be into that. So that would be mine, I guess.
I was thinking I would like to see a remade version of Phantasy Star 4, which is one of my favorite RPGs, and it is kind of dead on the Genesis, not really going anywhere. So I think if you could take that sort of sci-fi aspect of it and flesh it out and kind of make it, cooler, I guess that would be really neat. Uh, Maybe like a remade version of Parasite Eve. I don't know if you remember that game, but it was sort of like had cutting edge CG cinematics, but it was kind of stuck with like Resident Evil style gameplay a bit, and but it
It was
also
Square Enix's take on Resident
yeah
Evil, right?
yeah. So I mean it had some quirks, but it was kind of neat to play. It was different, and
A
of
game I
course
always wanted to like. Not that it's a good game. I just love the concept, but playing it was terrible. Was Nightmare Creatures. Do you remember this game? It was like just kind of
it was
gothic.
N64, right?
It was on PlayStation 1 as well.
Okay.
I wish they'd turn Nightmare Creatures into a good game.
You know what game popped in my head when you said that? Body Harvest for
Oh,
the
yeah.
N64. Do you guys ever play that?
Yeah.
I think that was like a really well-known studio that did that game.
Isn't it what Rockstar became? I know that's
Was it?
no, well there's another no it isn't. Like was it DMA Designs or something like that? They did
Like the original GTA? Didn't they do that?
they became Rockstar North, but they did a different game. It was this one game that you couldn't beat on Nintendo 64 where it was all these creatures. What was it called? Did they do Body Harvest as well, though? For some reason.
DMA Design did Body Harvest.
Okay, all right, okay. Nice, Frankie.
Good
Pull
pull.
that one out, too. I want to... Something Valley, I think, was the other one they did.
Was it Space Station Silicon Valley?
Yes.
That one?
Yes, yeah. I think they did that as well. I didn't play Body Harvest, though. Was it good?
It was good from what I remember, but I mean that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago. So, but it was really like it was trying to do the open world game. This is from what I remember. But it was so sparse, right? Because like it's the N64, and it was I believe you were fighting aliens in some sort of like suit, and I think you could get in vehicles. And I remember liking it, but it was just nothing really
It
there.
almost looks like an early like Halo or something from the screenshots.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, I believe it was third person though, not first person. But I mean, it had that sort of like alien invasion kind of vibe to it.
Another game I'd like to have updated from Nintendo 64 and like make it good is Shadow of the Empire. Is that what it
Yep.
was called?
Yep.
Or am I thinking of the book? Yeah.
No, that's it. Yep.
I played the shit out of that game and it was probably horrible.
Yeah.
And
I tried to replay it.
I wouldn't mind a new or remade, not the like actual same controls, everything, just better looking version of Wave Race 64.
I was thinking the same thing.
That game is amazing. The GameCube version sucked.
That whole generation is like so ripe for remakes because they are all almost unplayable now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wave Race
I have
is not.
I have my obvious one, which needs to be done. A remaster of Binary Domain. I mean, the greatest game on earth
Of course.
needs to be done. Mandatory. Okay, well, getting into like awesome games. Let's see here. Who is this from? C. No full name. Hey, Junkos, do you guys ever see yourselves doing a top 10 or top 50 games of all time list for Game Junk, similar to what you have done recently with Film Junk? Well, and previously. Sean?
I mean, maybe. But not to, like, we haven't really totally discussed this, but I think at some point maybe we could do like a Patreon thing for Game Junk and really kind of put more premium content there that we put a bit more time into. It's something that I think we could do down the line. I don't know if we have the audience to fully support it yet, but I'd be interested in it. I did like a top 30, my like a personal top 30 games a long time ago, kind of like as a like an article for, I think like before Film Junk was Film Junk, it was just Space Junk, and it was like everything, and we wrote about games too. And so I think I had some kind of list there at some point. May still be on the site, I don't know, but it's been a long time.
Go hunting for the outdated list 20 years ago. Okay, got a couple more here. Let's do a quick one. Frank, what chair did you buy?
I think it's Carnox Legend V5. I got it because it was on sale for Boxing Day, and it seemed pretty good.
Great.
It was a substantial discount.
That was from Patrick. Let's see here. What else we got? Speaking of buying stuff, this is from Party Tempo for Frank. We Junkers know you for seeking the best possible Blu-ray setup, HD Blu-ray players, 4K OLEDs, etc. So why aren't you going all the way in on PC gaming? 3090s, 240 hertz, 4K, etc. Steam has achievements, so don't even try to go there, bud.
I have been debating getting a PC, which I've done many times in the past. But it's just, I can't keep up with the technology.
And it's getting more expensive.
It changes too fast. I'm like, I think my desire to have the best like would be almost impossible to achieve because there's something better every week, and I would just keep chasing.
You'd lose your mind
carrot forever. Or at least with consoles, I have points in time where I know this is the best I can do. Where with PC, I'll never get there. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't like PC gaming that much because I have a lot of issues with it. I try to run games and things go wrong, and I have to get some stupid driver and bullshit like that. And I like the simplicity of consoles. I get the appeal of PC, but I'm not interested in spending time figuring out how to play something or finding out what I need to do I still remember the first game I ever bought, or one of the first ones, PGA Tour 486, and I had to get my dad's or my friend's dad to come over and figure out how to do virtual memory and I'm like, I don't know, how am I supposed to know how to do any of this? I just want to play a game. And it was impossible. I'm like, that was my first experience to like why PC gaming sucks, because I have to get an adult, 25, 30 years my senior, who works in computers for a living to figure out how to run a game. Like, this is insane.
May not apply anymore, but that's okay.
Well, it applies less, that's for sure, but it's still, that issue in some form is still there.
I think also most of the like cutting edge games come to consoles. You don't really have any like cutting edge PC games. I mean, Crysis was probably the last one I could think of that really was pushing it on PC. I guess you could consider like Half-Life Alyx now, like VR titles.
That one's driving me to want to get it, but then it's like, then I have to buy a new VR headset. Like, we're talking $3,000 to play that game, which I'm still considering, to be perfectly honest. But
well, I mean, I run Half-Life Alyx on my Quest 2, streaming it through Steam, and it's fine, wireless. So I didn't have any problems with it, and my rig is not crazy. I mean, I have a 1080 Ti. I don't know, I have whatever, 8 core or something. I don't know, 16 gigs of RAM. I don't have like this crazy rig. I only have
I might
a
have
1080
that
monitor.
already, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a 1080 monitor. I mean, I don't go crazy. I have been tempted to get a 4K monitor, but then I'm worried if I get that 4K monitor, I will have to upgrade my video card, which I don't want to do. So I'm also kind of just stick with where I have, and a lot of the games I play, I can run pretty high quality, almost ultra or at least high on almost everything, or very high, and it runs fine at 1080p, and it looks great to me. So I am in no me personally, I'm in no hurry to kind of get my computer up to the tip top. And like Frank was saying, it's like $3,000 to get a new computer like that. So it's a big investment. Any
Yeah,
other thoughts, Sean?
I will definitely not be becoming a full-time PC gamer. I do like Steam, as you know, and like sometimes cool indie stuff will come out there and only there, and I'm not opposed to checking it out in that form, but for like the latest cutting edge stuff, I will stick to consoles. I can't keep up. And like I said, they say prices are only going to get higher at this point, you know, because of COVID and now the tariffs on imports from China and stuff. Like, it's going to be a nightmare if it isn't
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, and I mean, people are only going to keep using more video cards and more rare earth metals, so the price is only going to go up. Okay, let's shift to some games. Eric writes, what are your thoughts on puzzle games that teach programming, like Human Resource Machine, Shenzhen IO, or Zachtronic games? Are they good learning tools or fun for people who are already programmers?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have played too many of these. I played Human Resource Machine and I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I do think it would probably be hard. I don't know if that one's a great one as far as a teaching tool goes. I feel like if you're not already a programmer, or if you don't kind of have the mindset for it, you're probably going to start to struggle with it at some point. I have been playing the sequel a little bit. I forget what it's called now. Let's see if I can find it. But the sequel, I think, introduces... I'm trying to remember what the main thing was. It's been a little while. I think it introduces, like, multi-threading. I think that's the thing with the new one. 7 Billion Humans, it's called. And that one just felt a lot harder right from the start. So it's been a while since I've gone back to it. But there are some other ones out there, though, that I think are better teaching tools. Actually, I think some people we know worked on... There was an Ubisoft one, like a Rabbids coding game that I think is free now. Or maybe it always was. I think it's just called Rabbids Coding, but that might be worth checking out. You know, stuff like Scratch isn't a game, but I think that's obviously a very good teaching tool for getting the basics of coding early on.
There are a lot of, like, so my kids have access to a lot of these sort of like programming tools that they have, and they're pretty good at teaching the basics of loops and variables and stuff like that, and using input, and, you know, teaching the character how to move, teaching the person how to make a character move, and that kind of stuff. Just very simple programming. And I mean, they're fine, but they're definitely for a younger audience, like kindergarten or early grades. Definitely not a higher grade level, at least for the stuff I've seen, though there is different tiers, definitely, of these teaching tools, and there's quite a lot. I think code.org is one of the websites, and you could probably just type in learn to code, and probably tons of these websites come up. I did play one game called TIS 100, which is kind of like an assembly language game, and I did not enjoy it at all. So programming games for me don't really tickle an itch I have to play. So I usually stay away from them myself.
Yeah, I've heard of that code.org. I think actually Kieran started doing that in school just recently, some stuff from there. Mm-hmm. But there was another game that I can't remember what it's called now that I heard about, that it was supposed to be good and not like both educational but also fun, like even if you don't care about learning to code. And I can't remember what it's called, so I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah. Frank, any thoughts?
I know nothing about this or any of these games you're talking about.
Okay, we got one sort of out of left field for this show, but we'll give it a go anyways. Tim writes, hi, I love listening to you guys talk about games. However, I have no interest in playing games in any form. In fact, the last game I played was probably The Hobbit on the ZX Spectrum back in the 80s. What I am
Nice.
interested is your opinion on some shares related to computer games. I think it means like computer game companies, in particular EA, Activision, and the latest IPO of Unity. If you were to invest, where would you invest? What would you invest in? Sorry, that's from Tim.
So I don't think anybody should take our advice on this at all.
Absolutely not. I've given advice to my friends with stocks who do stocks or are investors about where I think video games are going, and I'm always wrong because unfortunately the best stuff does not make the most money.
Well, to be on the flip side, a buddy of mine was asking me, and I said you should invest in Netflix. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, and he did not, and he really should have. But I one thing that just popped into my head, and I think they're just going public in the next month or two. Roblox. Roblox is huge. I think they would be. I think they have the potential to do very well. Now the thing is, they've already done a lot of growth because of COVID. Like all kids play Roblox pretty much at this point. Like it's.
I've never heard of it.
I'll check it out. It's kind of like a platform
I
that you
know a lot
can
of
make
kids
your
play
own.
it.
It's a platform you can make your own games with, and
Okay.
they're all kind of these very ugly looking, kind of dumbed down games, and they kind of everybody just makes clones of the same thing, but they I don't know. It's somehow it's just this communal thing. Kids can play online together, and there's just such weird things out there that and people like the people who make the games within Roblox can make money off of it too. So, but apparently, yeah, their user base has grown like a crazy amount in the last year, and they're just going public right now. So,
My instinct would be to stay away from Roblox like the plague, which probably means it's a very good investment. The exact opposite of what I think. And the two that came to mind, and then I found an article which had them both ranked really high, which scares me as well. But Take Two, I feel like there's going to be, next gen versions of Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto, and whatever the next Grand Theft Auto is. I think there's a lot of stuff coming from Rockstar that's going to make a lot of money. And Capcom. I know they leaked what their games are, but we got a triple, potentially quadruple dip of Street Fighter and some other stuff coming out. So I think both of those could be good.
Yes. Some of
And
them are
Resident
hard to get.
Evil 8 as well.
Some of them are tricky to get unless you're like a legit investor because like Capcom is Japanese, so it's traded on, I believe, Japanese markets. Like Ubisoft is traded in France. Um, I was looking into some of this earlier. So I think Unity is probably pretty good. I was thinking of investing in it, but I just don't have enough money right now to do that. So I haven't been.
I think
But
Epic
Epic's
is.
not public.
I know, but I'm just saying. I think they're going to take a lot of Unity's like market share. I think.
It's possible, but I think the thing you have to remember is that games are very highs and lows, especially if because it's a hit-driven industry. If you are looking for stability, you probably want to look at like probably Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony for like stability because they have a constant flow of income with the royalties and the fees they take off people that put games on their platforms. Whereas a game like EA, a team like or a company like EA, company like Activision would be good because they have games that have subscription bases that are more regular and they have more of a steady stream of income. Whereas if you are investing in like Ubisoft does have some games that are sort of that model of subscription based, but they're more hit driven. They're more like a big Assassin's Creed, a big Far Cry. And that's I would say more risky because you don't know if the next one's gonna hit, the next one's gonna miss, depending on how the market swings. And
Yeah, the
I don't
Take
think
Two thing was more like if you can get it at a time before they announce all those games and start releasing them, I would sell it right after that stuff. Like I don't think they're a long term play necessarily.
I assume they're worth a lot already, but I was going to say, how are we feeling about CD Projekt Red? Is this the time to buy?
I would say CD Projekt Red is probably a good time to buy. Now they are traded in Poland, so they're also hard to get a hold of, right? But
Would you
I
buy
mean,
them or Warner Brothers?
well, Warner Brothers has
Interactive.
lots, but I mean, CD Projekt Red, the thing they
They
have going
publish
for them.
They publish Cyberpunk, don't they? Like
They have
who actually reaps the benefits of Cyberpunk doing well? Both
well,
companies, both
Cyberpunk doing poorly tanked CD Projekt Red
right.
stock, so I assume
Yeah,
the
but
opposite is true.
the good thing about CD Projekt is they have GOG as well, which you in
Yeah.
theory has a steady flow of income of people buying games through that platform. Like if Valve ever went public, buy Valve immediately because Steam is never going away. Steam knows how to nickel and dime customers like it's their job. I mean, any company that can say, "Hey, put these here developers make trading cards and then we'll make a marketplace where people will sell your hard work and we'll take a cut of it." Like literally they do nothing except have the infrastructure for people to trade cards and they take a cut on every trade
Well, now
that's
they have their
made.
reward system too, right? Like a new currency I saw when I was in
Oh,
Steam recently, where you can buy like
oh yeah.
borders for your picks and all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's
Well, you could
like
tell they
a
have so much
virtual
money.
store.
You could tell they have so much money because I don't know how big they are. They're probably 2,000 people. They put out a game every 8 years, and they literally, update what? I don't know what games. What game? Do they have any service games? I don't think so, right?
They have
Oh, I guess they have Hearthstone, and
yeah,
is
and
that them? And
Dota, right? Dota 2.
Dota. Okay,
yeah,
so
they
they
have
do
a
have
few
some
things.
that they
They've
constantly
also
update.
managed to make that like user driven to make money, right? Where people can
Yeah.
make their own characters and stuff like that, and so they
So
get
when
other people to make stuff and they take a cut.
so when Gabe Newell retires and he sells his whole thing and they go public, you buy that company. You buy it as fast as you can. You as fast as you can. That's my opinion. Okay. Anyone else on that?
No,
Nope.
Okay.
don't listen
Uh,
to us. This is my-
Yeah.
I don't want to
Don't
be
do that.
responsible for anyone losing money.
Frank, have you played Dead Cells yet in
I
this
played it when it
roguelike
first
phase?
came out. I liked it a lot. I don't think I like it as much as other people. I found that there's you can play with ranged weapons and other play styles, and I found that they were so different that I always played the same way. But maybe I'd get into it more so. But it is really cool. I did like. I just found one area that I just couldn't get past, and I kind of gave up.
On this, or Sean, have you played it? You want to say anything?
I played it a little bit. I liked it. I wanted to go back to it, but I haven't yet. Small correction. Hearthstone is Blizzard.
That's
Oh,
okay.
Blizzard.
I was gonna
Don't they
say-
have a card game though? Doesn't Valve have a card
I
game?
thought they did, but I looked it up and I didn't see one. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Last question. We did it. This is from Know Nothing on our Discord. I was wondering if any of you guys have beat Slay the Spire's final boss. It's the fourth one. Also, what PC rigs we mentioned this already. What PC rigs do we have? And then they also ask, would love to hear some stories about working in the industry, your guys' time at Silicon Knights and after that.
We
So
never
Slay the
answered what's
Spire.
next for Naughty Dog. I just realized.
Oh
that.
yeah, oh yeah. What is next
Um,
for Naughty Dog?
I would think a new IP. And
I think a new IP too. I think new IP because what's the head guy? Neil Druckmann. I don't think
Yeah.
he's directing games anymore. He's now like CEO of the company, so he's not involved as much in the creative process of those games. So I would assume that they're gonna
CEO
have
now?
some new. Yeah, they raised him up. I'm pretty sure, or he's president or something like that. Like he's
I don't-
top. He's one of the top guys at Naughty Dog now. So I would think that they're going to have some new creative leads in there, and they're going to want to kind of do their own stamp with that team.
Okay. I thought it was so. Evan Wells and Neil Druckmann are now co-presidents.
Oh, co-president. Okay. Well, I knew he had been
okay. I
elevated.
was just curious. That's all. I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to be a dick or anything.
I mean, do we think there's going to be a Last of Us 3? I feel like there's
Absolutely.
got to be something still in that universe.
I think there's another Uncharted game coming too. I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on a new Uncharted, Last of Us 3, and a new IP. Would be my guess.
I bet Uncharted is handed off to someone else. Didn't they create a new studio somewhere. Sony somewhere. Anyways,
I'm not sure.
I think you guys are right with Last of Us 3, and then probably something new. I think in between. Okay, Slay the Spire. Anyone beat it?
I beat all 3 of the bosses, but not the 4th, like after boss, which is kind of embarrassing because I love that game.
Sean, I would take it no.
No.
Okay. So gaming stories, I actually ties into what I played. My kids were in my office, and I have these little pictures on my wall of games I've worked on, and my kids have recently been reading X-Men comics with me and like other comics, and so they saw that there was an X-Men game on my wall. And they're like, is that a game? And I said, yeah, I worked on that game. And my youngest son was like, you worked on an X-Men game? Oh my God, can we play it? Like, his eyes just lit up. And I was like, yeah, I actually have it. It's X-Men Destiny for the Wii. So I went and dug it out, fired it up today, and I realized that I had only played probably about the first 5 minutes of that game. And after 5 minutes, I had no idea what to do in that game or where to go. It was kind of refreshing, and it wasn't as bad as I remembered it being, which was very surprising to me. And when I worked,
the Wii version, which is saying a lot.
The Wii version, well, that's the game I worked on the most, but I was doing more. I was doing more of the technology side stuff for that, so I was getting it to actually run on the Wii. So I didn't really do much of the gameplay, other than the one boss, the one scientist boss that we worked on. So I guess that's a bit of a story because so Frank, Sean, were you on that project on the 360 version?
I was on the.
Oh no,
I
you were
was
on the Wii with us.
you.
Yeah, you were doing the gameplay stuff.
I think
right,
I left like halfway through it though. I wasn't there when it released.
Yeah, neither was I. Yeah, I think we left sort of around the same time. But Frank was working on the 360 version, and there was a boss that involved a 360 room with a pillar in the middle you had to run around. And on the Wii, if people remember, the camera controls are very limited. So we realized like there's no way we can ask the player,
right?
Yeah, that's how they have it. You use the D-pad to swing the camera around, but there's no way we can ask the player to like follow this boss that like runs all around this circle constantly. So we had to go through and redesign this level to be more of like a 2D, and you kind of attack him from one side almost, on half the circle, and then we just had a fixed camera, and we changed around the whole design. And I believe that the 360 version saw our version and then took our version and did it. Did they not? Like what we had done with the electric shocks and the ground pounds and stuff?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like, and it was like a half room kind of thing where you're just kind of moving a limited 3D space, but half of a room basically. And
yeah. So I mean, that's not an exciting story, but I mean, it's a development story of that game. So if anyone,
I really should stream that game.
Yeah.
Just so I could remember all of the lines I did placeholder audio, including the infamous "It's for Gambit size only."
I must say though that
Boone voices placeholder.
I must say that 3D text though looked fantastic in the game, even on the Wii. And Frank, that was your bread and butter.
Special.
Yeah, that was Frank's bread and butter.
Which actually people did like in the game, in the reviews. Like, it was a pretty good idea. It came in really late, and I kind of worked on that. I think not like team, like idea lead, I guess, or something like that, coordinating that stuff. And I wish we had more time with it because it was a cool idea.
Yeah, well, a lot of that, I think, got lack of time. There was a lot of
but that came in real late. And
there was a lot of departures from that team at that time.
I want to say Sunset Overdrive, when I played that game, there is a lot of ideas from X-Men Destiny in that game. Like, I don't think anyone went to that company or anything like that, but like the menus are like the same color scheme, very similar layout with like swapping out. Like, the menus are really similar. I'm not saying they copied either. I think it's just coincidence potentially, but they also had a better version of text in the game. Like, I remember the boom for the one gun that was like this animated boom thing, and that was like part of their initial video at E3. There's a lot of similar ideas between those two games. Like, I was like, wow, this is weird. Like, it's a much better version of X-Men, like the ideas of X-Men Destiny, but they're very similar, which happens all the time with games. I'm not saying there's anything like nefarious going on there by any means, but I was just interested by like, wow, there was a lot of potential to some of the ideas that we didn't have time to finish or do a super polished, amazing version of.
I also, it reminded me how hard it is to show off your work as a programmer, because I was like, hey kids, there's a dialogue system. I wrote all the code behind that dialogue system. Like, is that interesting to anyone? No, but I mean, how do you show that off? Like, you can't, it's not like an artist. You can't make cool concept art and like throw it up on the web and everyone's like, whoa, that's so awesome.
I use that dialogue system.
I know you did. Yeah. That was a very good dialogue system. It's kind of a shame that it's not in use anymore, but that's what happens to video game companies.
Yep.
Basically every video game company I've worked for. Okay. Anyone else has anything we played or want to talk about?
Well, I have something I played that actually kind of ties into X-Men Destiny a little bit, because Kieran got the Avengers game for Christmas for PS4. Marvel's Avengers, I believe, is the official title. And, you know, I think the game got not great reviews when it first came out. And it's kind of I was kind of unclear what kind of game it is. And, you know, I guess it's kind of going for sort of a games as a service kind of thing where there is a single player campaign, but there's online war zones that you can play together with people, and they're kind of planning out all this DLC and content that's supposed to come, but I guess people have been disappointed because there hasn't been a lot yet. But that being said, the single player campaign is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Like, we've been having fun trading off, taking turns playing it, and the reason why I think it's kind of connected to X-Men Destiny is the story is kind of similar in a way. Like, the whole thing is the Avengers have been kind of disbanded and had to go underground, and you play as Ms. Marvel, who is actually a Marvel character, but you know, you're not playing as the big Avengers. The character you start off playing as is sort of a fan of the Avengers, and you kind of meet up with the characters along the way. Your goal is to sort of bring them back together. And of course, eventually you do get to play as the actual Avengers, which is something X-Men Destiny never did, which may have been a problem. But I don't know. I was enjoying it. Like, I think some of the combat is a bit repetitive, but there's some cool traversal stuff. Like, Ms. Marvel has like sort of stretchy arms that she can use to swing from things. Black Widow has like a grappling hook. Obviously, Iron Man and Thor can fly. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little better than I expected, and certainly I've been enjoying the story aspect of it. I'm curious. I would like to try the co-op stuff or, you know, the online stuff at some point, but I don't know anyone who has this game. So, Frank, you got to buy it.
I thought about it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Have they announced like next gen? I would assume that's why they haven't done DLC. That they're working on next gen SKUs for it or something like that. But
there is supposed to be an update coming early this year for it, but I'm not sure. They did say Spider-Man is going to be a character exclusive to PlayStation that's coming soon, I think. And there was some DLC. They actually added Kate Bishop as a character, and there's like a new story piece with her, I think. So
now, is that free? Like, is the games as a service thing, and is it just like cosmetic stuff? That's
that's one thing I'm not totally clear on. Like, the Kate Bishop stuff is free. Like, it was just there when we started playing it. There is a lot of like built-in, like, there's gear and stuff you can get, and there's basically a button that's just like, equip the best stuff I have, and that's kind of what we've been doing. But there is like, you can pay to get better gear and stuff like that in the game, and stuff like that. I just caught myself, Jay. But you know, it's it's pretty complicated, and I've been confused by it, and haven't really looked into it too much. So yeah, that's definitely, they're trying to get more money out of people. I know the game was on sale around Christmas, and it may still be on sale. I'm not sure, but I feel
I
like
think
it's
holiday sale is still going on PlayStation for sure, which makes me assume it's still going on all platforms.
yeah, I feel like it's a game that at some point will go free to play or really cheap to buy, but I'm not sure.
There's no platinum guide on Power Picks for Marvel's Avengers? I could have swore there was.
That seems highly unlikely, Frank.
I got a video of the text. Let's
go.
take a look. Let's take a look at this beauty.
Challenger.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, here we go. I saw this too.
So wait, is this the Wii version?
No, this is not the Wii version.
I was
Come on,
say.
No, this is. Oh yeah, look at that text blow apart. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Glorious gameplay.
It actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to.
Well, you want to see the Wii version? Let me pull up the Wii version. That's the real.
I gotta say,
It'd be a nice trip down memory lane.
I enjoyed working on the Wii version because, obviously it was a port, and we were kind of just thrown like, okay, here's the game. You're not gonna be able to do the full game, so do what you want with it. And nobody really cared, so we kind of just had fun with it, trying to do our best, and still got shit reviews, but that's okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, this is not a good video. Oh, horrible. Let's see if I can find something. Oh, yeah, this is going to be it for sure, because the aspect ratio is wee-tastic.
And, I don't like, even on Film Junk, criticizing stuff. Like, I know how hard it is to make something. And just know, when I say I don't like something or say something is shit or it makes you want to barf, everywhere, anything I've ever made in my life, someone has said it makes them want to barf, or it's the worst thing ever, or that I'm the worst thing ever. So, like, I get it too. It's not like I know how hard it is to make stuff and do stuff. This is beauty. Look at those shadow blades. What a power.
I must say, when I was playing earlier today, the ice did not look as blown out blue as this. So there's something wrong.
You actually have to watch. So this is like, I think, like a shader tweak to make it look like cell shaded or something like that compared to the 360 version.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
and
is.
the whole thing was like the cutscenes were kind of these 2D comic book style cutscenes.
So awful.
Yeah, they were 2D, and the reason we had to do the cell shading.
Person doesn't know how to
The reason we had to do the cell shading was because we had to cut down the size of the models, the number of triangles on the models much that they looked like absolute trash. Oh, he fell down the wrong way. What happened there? Yeah, we had to cut.
There, it was kind of weird.
Oh, here's an example of like a dialogue part.
That's only
so they didn't
in the Wii version. Oh my god.
Oh, this is the dialogue system in Wii. This like crappy menu. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Those were the days.
Uncanny. I must say, oh, extreme. Look at that. It's funny. When I was playing earlier today, I'm pretty sure I only saw an uncanny. No other words. That was it. Let's see if I can get any other cool Wii screenshots going. It was pretty rough, I must say, on the Wii.
We are peacekeepers. That's all I remember from the opening.
Anyways, that was a nice video. Yeah, okay. Moving on.
I should mention we didn't do the DS version.
Yeah, I didn't even. Did you even know when we were developing it? Did you even know they were making a DS version?
No,
I did not.
Yeah, neither did I. It just was on shelves. I was like, wait a second, didn't we make this game? Nope.
Yeah.
Apparently, it is also completely different because the Wii is completely different than the 360, which is completely different than the DS. So,
Yep.
3 different X-Men Destiny experiences for you to have. What a treat!
the old Jurassic Park, the Genesis, the Sega CD, the Super Nintendo, all
That's right.
unique experiences. I feel like there was another licensed game that did that recently, and I was kind of hoping games would do that again, where like each console had their own version of a licensed game, which was kind of fun back in the day. It wasn't like the same game across everything. It was like, oh, there's which version? Like Aladdin had two versions, and like everyone thought the Genesis version was better then. Now I'm not so sure. I remember being pleasantly surprised by the Super Nintendo version. I miss multiple versions of license, like for movies. That was fucking fun.
Yep.
I think Jurassic Park was definitely the biggest, case of that though, because the Genesis was completely different than this SNES.
And
What?
well, the SNES was like kind of this top-down game, but then it also had first-person
Yeah.
mode. I always get this wrong. Mode 7.
You got it. I
Mode
think.
7 graphics, which I remember thinking was the coolest thing ever, even though that game is terrible. And the Sega CD version was the craziest because it was like a mist game. It was I bought it. I'm like, I have no idea what to do in this game.
And wasn't the Genesis like a 2D platformer?
Oh yeah, but you could play as I don't know if
The
it was
Raptor?
Dr. Alan Grant or the Raptor, and playing as the Raptor was the coolest.
I remember my buddy had a Super Nintendo version, and you could not save. You had to play the whole game in one sitting. Like,
Oh my
what?
God.
Yeah, it was brutal. I was like, how would anyone ever do this? So I would go over to his house and I'd watch him beat the whole thing in like 3-4 hours, and I'm like, how many times did you have to play this game? This is crazy. But yeah.
Speaking of Jurassic Park, is anybody going to check out Jurassic World Evolution? Because I assume we all got it free from the Epic
did.
Game Store.
I'm curious to try it, but I won't.
Yeah, me too. Is it like a city builder?
Yes, it's a construction management sim.
I remember I used to play a mobile version similar to that like 10 years ago from, I think, Ludia, the company Ludia, which makes a lot of those sort of mobile games. Might have to check it out.
Definitely.
Cool. All right, I think we're wrapping it up. Anyone else running late? We got through all the junk, made it through all the mail. Maybe we'll have some more stuff to talk about next week, but I thought it was fun. I enjoyed doing this junk mail.
Now, are we doing the top 10 next week?
Relax, bud. Maybe.
Nobody wants to commit. Well, I've kind of got a rough list. There's a few things I want to play still.
I got to do
so
a
we'll
top
see.
10 for film junk. I got like, come on.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year.
We should do our top 10 a year from now. Like, you want to sit. It's a lot harder to keep up to date with games. Not
Gotta
that
let
it's
it marinate
hard
for a
to do
while.
with movies.
We should do our top 10 for 2019 then.
There we
Let's
go.
do it. Fully marinated.
Well, youtube.com/Game Junk, Game Junk Podcast on Twitter, My Angry Commute, and Equilibrium Sis on Twitter for Huck City, Film Junk on Twitter for Sean. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
399 subscribers, one person. Let's make it happen.
We just need one. If you made it to the end of the show and you're not subscribed on YouTube, make a burner account, do something, and just make a bunch of fake accounts. We don't care. Do whatever you got.
Sean wasn't even subscribed. He subscribed last
Yeah,
week.
I was
so
like,
there's got to
I
be
gotta
someone
juice
out
this.
there.
I don't think I'm subscribed either.
There you go. You could be
Maybe I should
400.
be 400 right now.
Uh-oh. People are going to be upset that they didn't get to be 400. It's going to be a race.
Well, I'm sure someone will unsubscribe by the time
Yeah. They get to the end of this one.
subscribed. Boom.
Oh, there we go. 400.
400.
Amazing.
We did it. We did it live.
We did it. Wow. Wow. Riveting entertainment.
Just like when I got 100,000 a long time ago. All right.
boy.
Take care. See you later. Thanks for listening.